What's up, my healthy friends? Here we are back in action on the podcast today. This year, for 2022, it's my mission to coach 300 people to lose weight and bring sexy back without counting calories or eating rabbit food, so you can finally be healthy, strong, self-confident like you've always wanted to be. Today's guest and I connected on a networking call that the Quit Sugar Summit put on and thought we should totally record a conversation for you to hear how amazing this wonderful woman is, because she's got a bit of a story. So let me let you in on a little bit of what that sounds like. So I'd like to introduce you to Amber Wentworth, whom is a nutritionist, life coach, carnivore and intermittent fasting coach, podcaster, and a huge keto and carnivore enthusiast, and you might even say a bit of a celebrity in this space. Amber had battled with weight issues since she was 10 years old. She's dealt with multiple eating and exercise disorders and has tried pretty much every diet out there at some point. To put this journey into perspective, she lost 80 to 100 pounds 4 times. And for the Aussies and everybody on the metric system, that's about 40 kilos on 4 separate occasions. Not only did she have weight challenges, but there were all of the symptoms that come along with that: reflux, gut issues, rosacea, high blood pressure, hypertension, developing Raynaud's syndrome, becoming pre-diabetic, and of course, one that not many people speak about, developing depression. However, that all changed when she stumbled across keto, the ketogenic diet. And this next step might push your belief systems or on food and nutrition just a little bit, but stay around for the whole episode. So the keto diet got her most of the way, but Amber still had a little bit of healing to do, and a friend kept pestering her to give carnivore a try. Yes, carnivore, all meat. So she moved from keto to full carnivore in March 2019, which took her all of the way, now being totally off all medication and having absolutely no health challenges at all. And she is here to talk us through this keto carnivore journey today. A big warm welcome, Amber. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Maddie.
I'm so excited to have this conversation because carnivore and keto, like keto's been big in the last few years and now carnivore's coming up. So I'm just really curious. You've had such a dietary history, yo-yo diets and cycling up and down with weight and health. Why didn't the other diets work? What was it about all the other diets?
Quite frankly, because they sucked. They absolutely sucked. You want to get real.
Telling it real. I like it.
Yeah. Well, the problem is it's not sustainable, because the diets that are told are so healthy and so great for you never addressed my satiety. It didn't address my hormones. And I did it by sheer willpower. And I do have crazy, crazy willpower. When I set my mind to it, bam, that's it. I'm going to meet my goals, period. End of story. And I did every single time. But the problem came when I met my goal. I knew that's where my struggle actually began, because the losing the weight part, that wasn't so bad. I'm not saying it didn't suck, because it did, but I was able to power through that without a problem. But then I knew there is no way I could keep doing that, because it was miserable. And how much more could I eat less? How much more would I have to move? I mean, I was down to eating 800 calories at one point and exercising 2 to 5 hours a day, 6 days a week.
Whoa.
How much more do you want from me? And I knew that in order to continue to either maintain or to lose whatever, I'd have to keep eating less and moving more, eating less, moving more. And it just gets to the point where I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I just can't. Yeah. I'm tired. I'm miserable. I'm hating life. I'm hating everybody else too. I'm hating people who can eat normal food, and seemingly be okay with it. I even envied those that were obese, but they were okay with what they were doing, because I would look at food and go, oh, good God, no, I can't have that, and I would watch other people just eat it and not care. And I was like, how do you not care?
Yeah.
And so I envied even those people. It was a very miserable existence, always worrying about that, and to never, to always be hungry, to always be craving, to always, feel deprived. Deprivation was the biggest thing for me. And that's why I got really angry and irritable is the deprivation and feeling like I was missing out on something that everybody else seemed to be able to enjoy. Why couldn't I? What was wrong with me? Why did my body not work?
Yeah. I hear that so much as well. And so you're in a situation where you're 800 calories, so you're starving yourself, and then on the other end of the day, you're burning yourself out with activities that need more calories, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's
exactly
so tough.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I did everything. I did, free weights. I did the machines. I did back-to-back classes. I was in Zumba and body pump and you name it, I did it. I went to 4 different gyms.
Yeah.
Just to make sure I hit all the classes.
Wow.
I went in the morning, I went in the evening, depending on when the classes were. Sometimes I did 3 classes in a row. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that was kind of in my exercise, issue days. But you feel like that's what you have to do to move the needle. And I did, because of the state I had my body in. And from all the years of restrictive eating and, the eating disorders and all of that and eating the crap food, it really messed with my body a lot. And so, in order to do anything, I had to do that. And that's a sign I come to understand now is if you have to do that in order to move the scale, there's something really wrong. Something really, really wrong.
I absolutely agree. And I think that's one of the things with sort of diet culture is that, or the past diet culture, is that it really treats the human body as if it's like a unidimensional thing. It's like calories in, calories out, as if there's not literally a million other things, probably more, happening in the human body. And to the logical person that's not invested in biology in any way, like that makes perfect sense. If I put energy in, I should burn the same amount or burn even more to get the excess that I've put in gone. But there's so many thousands, hundreds of thousands of millions of other things that that food is doing. And even some of the calories you put in go out the back door when you go to the toilet. Like they don't all get absorbed, right? So like this old message makes sense at face value to someone that's not in nutrition or health. So you can see why it's kind of, took off and still drives me crazy. Do you have this experience on Instagram where you scroll past the personal trainers, particularly personal trainers that are banging on the calorie deficit drum?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And I find that so frustrating because it's such a losing battle. Did I lose my weight doing that? You bet I did. Sure, I did. But at what cost? At what cost? My sanity? My metabolism? My body? What cost? But the thing is, our bodies are not calculators. We don't work like that. We are not a closed system. We have these little things called hormones. We have so much going on. And the bio-individuality. What food is good for one person may not be good for another. So you can't treat any of that the same. And, everybody's needs are just a little different. You're not a calculator. Sorry. If it was that easy, good golly. Wouldn't we all be thin?
Yeah, it would have worked the first time for everyone, and this podcast would have no point to existing.
Exactly.
And the other thing I like to sort of comment on with the calorie conversation and our bodies being so complex and not a closed system is the calorie idea as well. So implies that at midnight while we're asleep, somebody comes in and presses reset. Someone goes, "Oh, we're back to zero," like as if the calories just evaporated in the night.
And we start all over, recalibrate, bam. Yeah. And I see it daily. I still see it daily. Oh, yeah. And it drives me absolutely nuts because it's like, that is so not fair to that person. You're telling them this is all you have to do. Bam. And my other favorite one though, is everything in moderation. Oh. You should not deprive yourself of anything. Just don't eat as much of it. Okay, yeah, that's super easy to do when you're an addict. Okay, when you're addicted to those carbs and the sugar, it's not so easy to just go, oh, okay, I'll just have a little bite of that. Yeah, it doesn't work that way. And obviously, if 88% of us are metabolically damaged, if you want to say, I'm kind of thinking, I think we have some problems there. So that whole just eat whatever you want, just moderate it. It's kind of like, and for some people, some foods are poison to people. And so it's like, well, gee, I like the taste of arsenic. But if I just have a little bit and moderate it, it'll be fine.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't work that way. No.
Totally. Yeah, trying to get somebody, or trying to get someone to moderate themselves is hard enough, which is why, coaches like you and I exist, because accountability and direction from somebody external to ourselves. But we can convince ourselves of anything. We can wake up in the morning and be like, yes, I feel so good. I'm only ever going to eat healthy food again and have a great day. And the next day you're like, well, I did pretty well yesterday, so maybe I can take today off. It's the same brain is having both of those conversations.
And I can reward myself because I did so good. Or I worked out for an hour in the gym, so I should be able to have a little piece of that chocolate cake. Yeah. How'd that work out for you? Yeah. Well, totally. Of course. And see, people want to believe this desperately, and I get it. I would love to be one of those people who could moderate and it didn't hurt me, because even those that can moderate and they don't show it on the outside, they may be doing damage on the inside. They may be messing with their, insulin levels and et cetera, and other parts, fatty liver, et cetera. There's all these different things, but just because you're not diagnosed yet, or you don't have blubber on the outside of your body, doesn't mean it's not doing damage. So, these little cutesy girls in their little outfits, and they're going, everything in moderation, it makes me nuts. Because I'm like, maybe you can, honey. Maybe you can at your little 20-year-old age, but that's not reality for most of us. Sorry.
Yeah, people giving diet advice should have at least have had a problem, or at least live enough life to know that hormones, especially for women, are a complicated beast.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that, especially for women, because good golly, I mean, what the hormones we got going on, you just cannot even put it in the same category. No.
Totally. The other one is that we hear all the time is have a balanced diet, and it's like balanced means that the weight on either end of the seesaw needs to be the same. So is it the same amount of health versus the same amount of toxic food?
Exactly. Define balance. That's just like moderation. Define that for me. Can you tell me exactly what that looks like for me? I mean, define it, please, because I'm not really sure you can define that for each person, because what's moderate for me may not be moderate for you. Yeah. And, it's like,
Totally. So there's obviously some really big flaws in diet culture over the last, probably forever, but, research shows that those flaws have been there for the last 100-ish years in medical research, and looking at the human body, which I think still is a flaw of medical research, which I've been a part of for a long time, is it looks at the human body like a car, like a vehicle of parts, and that no other part relates to a different part, and you can just take bits and pieces out and swap them over, and there's, it doesn't factor in the complexity. So I think, when we look at the body like that, we inevitably are going to run into a problem. But speaking of the fuel that goes into that quote-unquote vehicle, the human vessel, so we've talked about the culture that's been around for a long time of dieting and reward systems and bargaining and that type of thing. But you went all the way to carnivore. So now let's talk about the nutrition. Like, why were carbohydrates a problem for you?
Well, because number one, they're addictive. And number two, honestly, my biggest issue as far as that goes was the fiber content. Oh, I know. Oh my goodness. You need fiber. Oh my goodness. You cannot survive without fiber. Yeah, well, I've almost survived 3 years without fiber, and I'm pretty good. And I still poop and everything. People have this idea that you got to have all this gobble fiber and more and more and more. Well, that was a real issue for me, because I was about 3 years old when I first started having digestive issues, mainly if you want to get down to it, constipation. But I ate vegetables like crazy. I was one of those weird kids. I mean, give me that spinach, give me that vegetables. I didn't really eat a lot of meat. I ate meat, but not a lot of it. I wanted vegetables. I wanted it for breakfast. I mean, I was a weird kid. But as I got older, I still ate lots and lots of vegetables. Now, of course, then you throw in the grains and all that mess. And I had major issues. I mean, gosh, at the age of 8, I would bust vessels under my eyes because of straining so hard. Wow. I mean, I've had this issue for a long time. Anyway, when I was probably in my 30s, it progressively got worse. And so you're told, oh, well, you need more fiber, right? Yeah. So I added in flax seeds. Oh, good gosh, that was awful. I remember being on the river walk in San Antonio with my husband, and at one point, I just went to my knees, and I was like, I can't walk. My stomach hurts so bad. I don't know what's wrong. And so he like helped me to a restaurant that was right there and sat me down, and I had to sit there for like a good hour before I could straighten back up because I hurt so bad. It was because I was severely constipated, and it was all bunched up in there. Anyway, that was because of the flax seeds. I came to find out. So in my head, I was like, okay, well, I shouldn't be eating additional fiber. Never once did I think about the fiber that's in plants or grains for that matter. I never thought about that. So it got better once I removed the flax seeds, but I still had the initial issue that I had to begin with as why I took the flax seeds in the first place. And then, after going keto, I had many, many years of dealing with this issue. But then when I went keto, pretty quick, I noticed a big difference. But I had gotten rid of the grains, and I was eating a lot of grains because I ate oatmeal and, blah, 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 all the stuff that's supposed to be good for you, right? And I removed all that on keto, and it improved. But I still had the issue, but just not as bad. But after a couple of days on carnivore, I was like, wait a minute. This is what digestion is supposed to feel like? What? Wow. My gas, my bloat, my constipation, it was gone. And I'm telling within a few days of removing the fiber. And that is why I stay carnivore.
So
not because I have to.
Yeah. So for me, that begs the question that comes up in a vegan conversation with clients often, which is that there's a honeymoon period, right, of veganism. Like people feel great when they go vegan, and then it takes, on average, 2 years for people's nutritional deficiencies to start showing up. Some people, it's, they can go their whole life and they're fine, but that's a very small minority. But most people, start getting the low energy, gut issues, bloating, low stomach acidity because they haven't put acidic meat into their stomach in a long time. And so my question then is, being devil's advocate, obviously I'm a big fan of what you do, but being devil's advocate for the listeners that are really new to the idea of just eating meat is, are you just in this honeymoon period that hasn't yet reached its inevitable end of some type of nutritional deficiency which you're currently unaware of?
That's always a possibility. And I will never say never. I can't say that because, yes, you are right. And that happens in veganism. I suppose it could happen with this. The only thing that I can say is if you look at our past, how we evolved. I mean, yes, our ancestors did eat some vegetation and stuff, yes, but most of the societies, whatever you want to say, ate meat. And that's what they survived on. So I'm like, that's how we got our big brains. That's how we did everything. So but you can't find a single completely vegan, society that survived. You know what I'm saying? It's like, so now are certain, plants good for you? Maybe. Okay. And I don't demonize it. I mean, if it works for you, it's good for you. I don't have a problem with that at all. I mean, I was keto. I love my vegetables. I'm not going to lie, but if I need to add it back in, I will, but I just can't see how making me miserable and bloated and, constipated is going to be good for me, but I'll never say never. And that's always a possibility because you know what? We don't have the research for that. I mean, realistically, we just have the past to look at. That's it. And so it's hard to know. We have all these stories, we have carnivores that have been doing it for over 20 years are in incredible shape. So, who knows?
Totally. Yeah. And I think you raise a good point about what we did in the past, because before we were farming, massive amounts of crops for vegans to be able to be vegans. And in addition, supplements to be made in order for those vegans to be nutritionally complete. And they do all these ridiculously absurd documentaries, which I actually cringe at saying that they're documentaries, because the Game Changers is just a straight up vegan propaganda lie. And so, but all these athletes that they brag about that are living these ethically amazing lives, they've got like 25 supplements that they have to, take each day. And I think that if we're trying to get healthy, we need to move towards, as natural as possible, as wholesome as possible. And if we think about if we're in the wild and we caught here in Australia, you might catch very easily a kangaroo. They're everywhere. You would be fine for probably a month. But if you only had to, eat what you found in the way of plants, you would lose weight. You would definitely, struggle to survive nutritionally. So I think that's a really good way to look at it. And plus I shared a post today actually on my Instagram. I forget the quote exactly, but it was, if we get into the ethical conversation, it's that everybody pays farmers to kill animals. It's just that, farmers that do crops do it in order to clear the land so that they can grow more crops. And, those of us that eat meat do it to eat the meat. So the ethical conversation is kind of null and void as well, right?
Moot. I agree. Absolutely. 100%. Because if that's just an argument, that's just an excuse. That's a validation, whatever. But the whole supplementation thing, that gets me too, because when you need something so incredibly important, like B vitamins, B12, to function, and you're not getting that, that tells me that's not a complete diet. Okay. It just doesn't. Now, there's a difference between supplementation nowadays. I mean, most of us are magnesium deficient because of our soil, and even a carnivore. I'm magnesium deficient.
Yeah, totally. And I take magnesium every day.
I do too. So there's a difference there. It's not a vital chunk of your nutrition that is essential. You know what I mean? It's like you just may need to supplement because of depletions, not because you're literally missing a link. That's so that whole argument, I'm just like, I'm sorry, no, because like a carnivore does not have to have that. There's nothing that they have to supplement with other than, like magnesium, and there's some things that all of us, because of the depletion, that we have to have in order to be able to do that specific diet. There's not.
Well, and I think as well, there's a nuance in this part of the conversation, which goes from eating a good diet and then going to optimal health. Right. And I think for maybe people like you and I, these kind of supplements we add in, we know this stuff so well that we're like, oh, I can feel even better. So it's really like kind of, that biohacking space that we move into to really optimize. But for, the average family that's, struggling to make ends meet and that needs to make sure that their kids and themselves are nutritionally dense, so that they can grow up and have their kids grow brains that actually function, eating meat is going to give you pretty much all the nutrition you need, which leads me to ask a question that I always get in the carnivore conversation. Vitamin C. Where are you getting your vitamin C from?
Well, meat actually does have some trace vitamin C in it. But I will say that I tested my vitamin C, and I don't supplement vitamin C. And it was the high normal, like way at the top high normal. And I was like, what? Because I honestly wasn't expecting that because of it's such an issue. I figured I was kind of like low normal, I don't feel like I'm lacking anything. So I didn't figure I was really deficient, but at the same time, I was not expecting that. And that made me just go, see, so no, it doesn't tend to be that big of an issue. And the other thing too, is when you're eating clean and your nutrient dense food, there's some speculation, and the nutrition science is just so difficult because you just can't ethically do it correctly, that you don't really know everything. Like there's speculation that because when you have a nutrient dense diet, that you don't necessarily need as much of certain vitamins and minerals as somebody who is eating the crap standard American diet.
Well, especially if we talk about vitamin C. Vitamin C is an antioxidant, and it's the first antioxidant to go to depletion when toxins are in the body. And so if you're eating the standard American diet, of course you need more vitamin C because it needs to be there to defend from all the crap you're putting in.
And magnesium.
Yeah, totally. And that's the other thing with magnesium too. Like we live such stressed lives. Like
Yes.
our adrenals are knackered all the time. Our
Mhm.
stress response system is being switched on so much, and magnesium's such a significant part of that process that it's no surprise that it's easy to be deficient in magnesium with how stressed we all are.
Absolutely. And I think honestly, that's my biggest thing is I do know that my cortisol is really high. And when you have high cortisol, as you know, it zaps your magnesium. So it makes sense. And when you eat sugar, this little tidbit here, it takes 27 grams of magnesium to process 1 gram of sugar.
Yeah, wow, that puts it in perspective.
Yeah, it does. It's like, so think about that when you're eating a Snickers bar and you're not getting your magnesium in. And magnesium is so important to like everything. It's like, you need it for everything. Like over 700 functions in the body. So when you start depleting stuff like that, and we're already naturally pretty much, not as, filled with magnesium as normal.
Oh, totally.
We would have been a long time ago.
And that brings up another nutrient. So a lot of people may or may not know, but magnesium and calcium, they're at a balance in the body. And if you're supplementing one in abundance, you will reduce the other one. So you've got to make sure that you're taking in both. And there's a lot of magnesiums that are like called MagnaCal, so they come with both so that you're not knocking one off the perch. But in a carnivore diet, generally, most people think of calcium and then they think cow's milk and dairy products. So what about people that are on carnivore that aren't having dairy? Or do most carnivores include dairy? So where do they get the calcium?
Yeah. There's a big controversy over dairy anyway. I mean, oh God, it's such a sensitive subject. People like lose their minds. I made a post or I reposted something today on Instagram and it was about things that, are endocrine disruptors. And one of them was dairy and alcohol. People lost their minds over that. And I'm like, okay, everybody's a little bit different. If you can handle dairy, that's great. But just because you think you can handle dairy, you may not be handling dairy very well. It could be very inflammatory. So, there is this thing. A lot do, yes. I went a good, probably a year without any dairy, like any heavy cream or cheese or anything like that. Number one, because I just didn't care about it. It just, it wasn't, something. And so why? I had no need for it. And then here lately, I've been kind of upping the dairy a little bit. I think I need to kind of pull that away because I don't think I'm doing as well on it. I've noticed like some, like getting a rash around my eyes and right there. And so I'm kind of thinking that has to do with the dairy. Anyway, so some people, yes, they get their calcium from, the dairy. Yeah. Some people supplement, but I mean, honestly, I've never had a problem with calcium ever. So, we're getting it just fine. There's really nothing that we're deplete in really that it stands out as a group. Anyway, there's, individuals I'm sure that have, this and that. But if you look at carnivores as a whole, we're really not lacking anything.
Yeah, that's so great. It's just going through those to sort of bust some myths for people because they're questions that I get instantly. And not to forget that we're currently in a situation where governments and sort of major food groups as well as the World Health Organization are encouraging people across the globe to eat less meat for the sustainability of the planet, claiming that we already consume too much meat and it's killing the earth. And we're seeing this sort of transition, at least here in Australia, with fast food restaurants moving to plant-based menus and including things like the Beyond Burger and the Impossible Burger. And many of these plant-based initiatives sort of they masquerade through their marketing as the healthy alternative because we were all raised on the idea that fruits and vegetables means health. And so I'm curious, on that note, as a carnivore, what's your opinion or position or response to that idea that plant-based menus will save the earth?
Well, I think it's absolutely incredibly ridiculous. And there is an agenda. There is an agenda. It's not about our health. Nothing is really about our health when we're talking about the government and, big food, et cetera. It's not about our health. Sorry, hate to break it to you, but they don't care. Okay. It's money basically and power, whatever. But, it's not about our health. The Beyond Burger. Oh, good God. Have you seen the ingredients in that? Well, I know you have. The seed oil in it and the disgusting stuff. And if you compare those ingredients with bad dog food, which most of it is, it's pretty similar. So yeah, it's disgusting. It's chemical crap storm. It really is. It is disgusting because, like you talked about earlier, we need to get back to more natural, more whole foods, more what our ancestors would have eaten in a more natural way, in as best we can in this concrete jungle we live in. But yeah, the when you have a list of, I don't know how many ingredients, I want to say like 30 ingredients, that's disgusting.
Totally.
It's made in a lab. It is not like this wholesome, vegetable patty. No, that is not what's in that. You know, it is a lab concoction.
I remember when I was
they take up carrots and cut them up or something. No.
I remember when I was in high school, maybe when the idea of lab-grown meat came out, and this was before I was even a scientist, and even during my early science years, I was like, this is so cool. We get to control what goes in it, so nobody will be nutritionally deficient. And now, 10 to 15 years later, I'm like, the problem is that we can control it and know what goes into it. So
yeah. So why
terrifying.
not eat what nature gives you? That's the whole point. We were provided with the foods that we're supposed to eat. Every animal has their species appropriate food, and ours is not made in a lab. Sorry, it's not, and the whole, animals are bad for the environment. Hello, people. We need the animals.
And we are animals.
Cannot. Yeah, thank you. It's ludicrous. I mean, we need those animals. We need them to help regenerate the earth. We cannot just keep, monocropping, we're ruining our soil. That's part of the reason why we are magnesium deficient. Because of all this, for the plants instead of, having the animals and
they talk about that in
discussion.
They talk about that in the regenerative farming movement as well, because in order to have nutritionally dense soils, you need animals to die on those soils and go and have their nutritional abundance from their organs and everything go into that soil. So it's almost like the vegan community or the plant-based community need dead animals in order to get really good nutrients from their plants, right?
Yeah. About that.
Oh, it's an awkward conversation.
Yeah, right. Well, have you heard some of them talk about how they will put poo on their but they also eat that because they get some of the vitamins that they need from that. So that's their solution. And I'm like, I'm sorry. I may, try some organ meats and stuff like that, but that's as gross as I'm going. Okay.
You raise a really good poo. That is terrifying. But you raise a really good point there about organs. So being carnivore, it's kind of like vegan. You've got a supplement for it, but the way we would supplement in a carnivore diet, right, is eating nose to tail.
Yes.
So can you talk a little bit about nose to tail?
Yeah. I mean, I absolutely advocate for that. I think it's great. I personally don't like organs.
It's so hard to like organs.
I just don't like it. I've tried. I mean, I really have tried. I have videos out there. I've tried. But it's just not my thing. But again, I don't feel deficient. So, I mean, I may not be lacking anything, as far as that goes, because people claim that they actually crave it. I don't crave it. So there's something disconnected there, so I don't know, but I think it's great. And like you talked about, being in good health is one thing, but taking it to the next level to be optimal health That's a totally different thing. And, you know, some people are okay being in that, you know, they're healthy, they're good, but others want that bam. And those are the people who are going to eat the nose to tail and et cetera, you know, and I think that's fabulous. And I really wished I could deal with it. I mean, I can force it down, but why? I've been miserable eating food long enough, you know, why, you know, and I'm not lacking anything other than, you know, again, like I said, magnesium. That's really the only thing I have an issue with. And I've tested because, you know, you get all these cool test kits, you know, that you get to try out and all. And so I've done everything. And so I have a good idea of where I'm at. So I'm pretty confident. Again, it's over the stupid magnesium, but whatever. And I'm still working on that. Whatever.
You just got me thinking about those organ capsules that you can now buy. So I don't necessarily put many people onto a carnivore diet per se, although most days I'm pretty much carnivore myself. But some women that I work with benefit from some of those supplements and notice rapidly when when they run out of their supplements, whether it be a beef liver supplement or it could be, you know, any type of organ, depending on what they've got going on that they're supplementing, and you don't taste it; it's in a capsule.
Right.
So, do you use those as tools for people at all?
I actually. I had some sent to me to try. And so I was really excited about that. So I tried them. And for me, I didn't notice any difference at all. But again, I think it goes back to I wasn't lacking anything.
Yeah,
I really believe that. And because I hear other people claim that they notice a huge difference. And so, yes, I absolutely would if I felt like that was, you know, something they were missing. Again, you know, maybe I'm weird. I don't know. But I really didn't. I'm weird, but it's all right. I'm good with that. I'm fine with that. But yeah, I mean, I think that it's a great thing and a great option for somebody who just really can't develop the taste. I mean, of course, fresh is better, obviously, but that's the next best thing. And a lot of people do claim that it's really helped them a lot. And I don't care what diet you're on. That would be something, if you want to take your health to the next level, would be a good thing to try out and see if maybe that works for you. It's not going to hurt you. I mean,
no way.
You know,
no, I mean, beef liver is so incredibly nutrition dense. It's crazy. And for anybody listening, I actually just had liver in my breakfast or lunch. It's one in the afternoon roughly here in Australia. And so I broke my fast with bone broth first. So that's another way to get lots of that great nutrition in. But the way that I hide liver, because I don't know anyone that loves liver, to be totally honest, but the way that I hide it in things is that I pull it out of the freezer and then I wait about 10 minutes until it's like soft. And then I get the grater out and I grate it into tiny shavings. And then I add it to about a kilogram of, and it's probably, how many grams would it be? Maybe 200 grams, 100 grams of, somewhere between there, 100 and 200 grams of liver. And then I add it to a kilo of beef mince and then spices, flavorings, you don't even know it's there. The amount of people that I've fed it to that are listening to this podcast and have no idea that they've eaten it. I did you all a favor. But there's definitely ways to hide these foods.
Yeah, I agree. And I've done that and I can do that. There was definitely a point where it went too far. I can't remember what the ratio is now that I figured out. Back when I was doing all the different, you know, fear factor taste tests, that's what I called it, you know, facing my food fears, because that was always something so disgusting to me, or all these different things, you know, like brains and kidneys and, you know, whatever. And so I decided as I found stuff, I was going to try it. Just, you know, being a carnivore, I should try that, right? And I did try the liver multiple ways. I did kind of what you said, where I kind of froze it and then, you know, use a grater. But boy, if you let that thaw too much, it is a mushy, nasty little blah, blah, blah. It's like this congealy stuff, and I'm like,
totally.
What? But this is weird, especially since I kind of have like, I don't want to say I have a squeamish stomach, because I'm just kind of over all of it. My hands in raw food all the time. I feed my dogs raw, and let me tell you, they have some nasty stuff in there. So, you know, I'm not, you know, weird like that. But I tried the liver raw, just plain raw. And that by far was the best taste. because it
Interesting.
didn't have a taste, really. It had just a
Oh.
very, very slight taste. But when you cook it, the taste is, but the texture was disgusting. It was like this. It was, I don't even know. It was not
I've
good.
never eaten it raw. Was it kind of like mussels? Like eating
No,
seafood? No?
no. The consistency is kind of like, almost like flan. Have you ever had flan? Like
I don't think
flan,
I
whatever you
have.
call it.
No.
It's kind of like custard, where it has the thick top to it, like the subtle top, like on pudding when you don't put plastic wrap down and it gets that, it's like
Yeah.
that, but a little bit harder, kind of. I don't know. It's just,
Yeah.
yeah, it's not good. No.
I've got a question that I'm just totally curious about. Do you think people are grossed out by the idea of organs because we've just been desensitized from when we were in nature, and the meat industry has only been putting muscle meats in front of us for however many decades now? But because back in the day, when somebody when a group of hunters went out, got a kill, and they'd pull it all apart, like everybody would share all the different pieces.
Yep, that's exactly right. Yeah, I 100% agree with you. Yes, absolutely. Because we have been desensitized. We're very removed from our food. And that's part of the issue we have. And, my family is full of hunters. My husband, my son-in-law, my daughter even. And I'm the only non-hunter. I'm the only one, and I'm the carnivore. So go figure. But I decided, okay, you know what? I think I'm going to take up bow hunting. I think I need to be, part of the whole process. My husband's like, yeah, no, I don't think you should. And my son's like, no, Mom, nope, that's not going to be good for you. Then you're probably not going to ever eat meat again. And I'm like, no, but I think it's a good process. But no, they're right, because I am very, believe it or not, I'm a carnivore, but I am a major animal lover. And I mean, I'm the one that'll cry seeing an animal on the side of the road, as you pass it. I'm one of those kind of people. And so, that would be hard for me, I think. But I think that's something we should do, to be part of that, to know where our food comes from. It doesn't come from the grocery store. I mean, that's where you go buy it, but that's not where it comes from, and you just really have no idea what's going on. And yeah, we are so far removed from the food we eat. And I know, like, even my parents, how they grew up was very different, because they did eat organs and et cetera, liver especially. And I hear stories about blood sausage.
I've heard
I
a lot.
remember, I remember as a kid hearing the process of blood sausage and about heaving. I was like, how do you eat congealed blood? What is wrong with you people? But that was very normal. And there are some people who still do that, like farmers and et cetera. And, like Germans and how they do their, so yeah. But most of us, we don't have a clue.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And the same in the plant world. We're really, really removed from the whole farming process and the amount of pesticides and chemicals and soil manipulation and nature that is killed in the name of crop farming. So there's a rabbit hole to go down in every direction. But which is why I'm a big fan of the regenerative farming movement, because it really brings both plants and animals into a much more harmonious environment, irrelevant of your dietary choice. The nutritional density is going to be better. Especially if there's animals in your diet, then you're going to get healthier meat from the animal living on a regenerative farm. But also the killing process is much different. That is a great difference compared to factory farming, which I think is of huge benefit to the quality of and nutrition in that animal.
Absolutely. It makes a huge difference.
Yeah. So question, what are the top 2 or 3 transition tips for people that are listening to this episode? They're having their belief systems shattered right now. And they're like, oh, okay, where do I start?
Well, it kind of depends. I mean, are they coming from keto? Coming from keto is not that difficult. I think it can be a little bit harder from somebody's standard American diet and then jumping straight into carnivore. That can be a little jolting.
For
But
sure.
sometimes it just depends on the person, honestly. Because sometimes there are the people who just rip the Band-Aid off. Let's just go for it, And then there's others that like me, kind of dip my toe in the water a little bit, and then put in my foot, then my up to my knees, and then never mind, I'm out. But so it kind of depends on the person. But if you're one of those people who just want to rip the Band-Aid off, get it on, get the bad side effects over with, be done with it, then jump straight in, go for it. And the best way to do that, and people always ask me, well, what do you eat? You eat animals, or something that comes from an animal, and it's usually best when you're first starting out to leave off dairy. And if you're trying to do it as an elimination diet to see what you react to, coffee's a good one to kind of eliminate in the beginning, at least for the first, I usually say like 3 months, like the first 90 days, like try to do without dairy and maybe coffee if you can stand. If not, whatever, just have your coffee. God, that's a trigger subject, if it's that major of a deal, just have it, But if you really want to find out what you're reacting to, sometimes that's a good thing. Anyway, so just have your meat, specifically red meat. That's usually the best way to start is for ruminant animals, red meat ruminant animals, and basically water, or some, if you can handle sparkling water, that's okay too, and salt. And that's how a lot of people start. I am not particularly fond of just the salt. I like spices. And so from the get-go, I've used limited spices. I've used like the Redmonds, that they have the seasoned salt.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of other people like the Paleo Powder Pink that doesn't have sugar, etc. So I've always used seasoning to a degree.
Have you used Pluck?
Pluck. Oh, wait, that's the organ.
Yeah,
yes,
the
I have.
organ salts. Yeah.
Yeah, and I need to do a review on that because I finally did use that probably about a month ago. I've just been terrible about editing. But yes, I liked it fine. I mean, the only question I have with that is, does it really matter? Like, because you're not using a lot of it because you're using it as a spice. So I wonder if it's a great concept. I thought it tasted great. I liked it a lot, but I mean, the value of it, I don't know.
Yeah, well, I have the guy that founded Pluck coming on the show, so I can ask him for you.
Yeah. I'm very curious, but I mean, I thought it was really good, and I put it in ground meat and kind of made like used it like a taco seasoning, and it was really good. And I don't like organs or the taste of it, and couldn't taste it at all. I even dipped my finger in and just tasted it straight out of the package just to see. And I liked it. I thought it was really good. So I would definitely, have no problem using that at all. But that's one thing. And the other thing too, like if you're coming from keto, and you want to just kind of gradually transition into it. And that's kind of what I did. Because when I started keto, I did the whole thing about reproducing the food that I used to love, but keto-fy it, and occasionally I would have keto treats, and I did the fat bombs, blah, blah, and I did the desserts and, the cauliflower rice, whatever. And then by the end, I was kind of over it. So I was already kind of weeding things out. Pretty much I was eating meat and some cream sauces, that to get your fat up, whatever, sometimes as needed, and vegetables. That's what I was eating anyway. So really all I did was just remove the vegetables, and it was super simple for me, and I was already fat adapted, so it made it super easy. So it just kind of depends on the person, really. If you're already keto, just kind of wean off the vegetables a little bit and see what it's like. And then you got to give it some time, though. You got to give it, at least 60 days. 90 days is better. Do a challenge. That's how I started, is I got talked into that challenge, the 30-day challenge. And after, a couple of days of having this awesome digestion, I was like, okay, I'll do the 30 days. Yeah. And then after that, it just kind of, you get used to it and it becomes, just normal. And then you realize the simplicity. And once you realize that, you don't want to go back. Now,
and the time saving.
oh my God. Now I whine. I'll whine when I have to cook, It's like I'm so used to just, you cook meat. It's easy. Bam, you're done. And you don't have to do all these side dishes and these sauces and, all that kind of mess. It just makes life so much simpler. And believe me, I whine now. It's like, what? And like for Thanksgiving, matter of fact, which is on Thursday, we're having fillets. And I'm making potatoes, but instead of everybody likes baked potatoes, and that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. Occasionally I'll have a bite of potatoes, whatever. But I'm going to do kind of like a baked potato casserole, if you will, where I just take the inside, but I mix it with sour cream and cheese and, that kind of thing. So it's like you mixed it up in your potato, but it's all in one. So I'm doing that. And then like my dad is going to make some other stuff to go along with it, but that I'm going to eat the filet. And everybody's happy about that. They're like, yeah, filet. And they're really nice, good fillets, super tender, a little pricey, but whatever, it's worth it. It's a holiday, right? And,
totally.
The thought of turkey just, and then having to deal with all the sides and the cooking and everything, even though I don't even eat it, it's like, nah. Yeah. Simple. So my life is going to be easy. I just boil some potatoes and mix everything up. That's all my part, and then we slap the fillets on the grill.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. It's simple. It's nice. Yeah.
So I've got a million questions to ask you, so we might have to do this again sometime. But where can everybody listening find you online, and where can they get your stuff?
Oh God, everywhere. Instagram is my big one, and I'm under Lone Star Keto Girl, all one word. And I'm also on Twitter, Lone Star Keto, but it has to have dashes between it because they didn't have enough room. Ugh, so annoying. I hate when you can't have the same name, but it's like you start out one place and you want the same name, so you have to do versions anyway. And I do have a website, but I don't really post new stuff. It's pretty much keto. I'm going to be moving a little bit more carnivore and into some other stuff. So I have another website going, but you can find all my information off of Instagram. That's the best bet. Just go to my profile and there's a link and it's got everything. So
yeah, amazing. And for everybody listening, you know the deal. I will put all of Amber's links down in the show notes below. So scroll down, give her an Instagram follow. She puts out a heap of amazing content and shares lots of awesome stuff. And before we wrap up, Amber, what is one piece of health information that you wish more people knew about?
Oh, gosh. Well, this is something I had to learn is just because something works for you today doesn't mean it's going to work for you tomorrow. That you're always having to evolve and change as your situation evolves and changes and as your body evolves and changes. And that is a very, very important thing to learn because don't marry yourself to only a certain idea of, for instance, carnivore. Like, oh, that's it. You have to do it this exact way. Only eat red meat, only have salt, nothing else ever. Well, it may be great for a while, but maybe there's going to come a time where it's not. And maybe you're going to have to switch stuff up. So always be willing to experiment and follow what your body needs, not what other people tell you. You got to listen to your body. Yeah.
I love that you shared that. Yeah. I think a lot of people on Instagram particularly are like, it's this way, this is the best. And so it's so nice to have somebody that's, on potentially something you would describe as a restrictive diet, say something like that. So that's really refreshing. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, absolutely. It is important because, we're all very different. And again, I may be, next time you talk to me, I'll be maybe going, oh, guess what? I changed to this. And you'll be going, what?
Amazing. Well, it's been so great having you on the show. And I think we've had a great conversation. I would love to invite you back again soon. But for now, thank you for being here and we'll catch you really soon.
Absolutely. Thanks, Maddie. And I'll be having Maddie on my podcast soon. So
sounds great. See you, Amber. Bye.
Bye.